people think that they are smart enough to trade altcoins in a way that they're going to get more Bitcoin, or they're just going to be in it for a minute. But the fact is that once you step away from Bitcoin, you're entering the gambling casino. Right. So it's the same. If ever you go to Vegas and you go across the room with all the slot machines and you ask 100 people how, if they're winners in Vegas, the 100 people say, yeah, I win all the time. I'm a big winner. They're sitting there with smoking a cigar, with threadbare, with nothing on their back. And they're like, I've been winning in this for years and years. Because the gambling mentality is such. You convince yourself that you're going to win at this gambling thing. So that's number one.
But I do.
And number two, the projects themselves suck. They're all centralized garbage. Bitcoin is decentralized. It's a big difference. And you can't compare the two. It is.
I'm not saying Dogecoin technologically or their infrastructure, their code. I'm saying a bunch of regular people, young people who had no interest at all in any capacity with cryptocurrency. All of a sudden now the door was opened to at least walking into the room. And if at the end of it, 10% of the people or 1% of those people who normally would never be involved are like, I'm going to buy Bitcoin with it because that's the real asset. So they bought some Dogecoin as a joke. It went up. They went, whoa, they sold it. Then they, got Bitcoin instead. Isn't it better that people are at least understanding
Bitcoin is the house, and everybody else are the chumps on the floor. So I own Bitcoin. If somebody wants to go into the speculative world of gambling on douche coins, and ultimately all that capital, the size of the market is expanding, right? So it's a 2 trillion plus, and that means that ultimately more money will flow into Bitcoin. Bitcoin goes through cycles, and right now it's going sideways and it's building a base, and then it'll make a big leap again, and then you'll see a rotation out of all these altcoins into Bitcoin, and a lot of people will get wrecked. And also when you're trading in those altcoins, there's all kinds of tax liabilities you have to be aware of.
Absolutely.
It's not worth it. Instead of just hodl.
That's what my shirt says, buddy. Hodl. Hodl, baby, hodl. That's what it's all about. Don't make me get undressed, Tim. Don't make me get naked on your show.
Please don't get undressed. I'm not saying Dogecoin is better than Bitcoin. I'm saying Dogecoin as a marketing campaign got a bunch of people to finally know what crypto was.
They're going to get wrecked. So people who bought it last week on the, Elon Musk on Saturday Night Live at 72 or 74 cents a coin, they're sitting on 30 or 40% losses today, and they're wondering, what the heck am I going to do? It's going to scare a lot of people out. You enter into the arithmetic of losing. The amount of percent gain you need to break even once you lose 10% is more than 10%.
Right.
So what happens is you tend to trade riskier projects, as is today. There's another coin that's a dog coin, right?
Shiba Inu token.
So now that had a rally today. So a lot of people who lost 30% on Doge in the last week are going to be, I'm going to make it back on this other thing, which is even more ridiculously.
Well, so
they end up with zero.
Let me ask you about Bitcoin though. If, for one, there's a finite amount of Bitcoin, they're not going to complete the 21 million coins until when? Do you know what year?
Another 100 years.
Another 100 years.
Yeah.
So If look, I was talking with some of the people here at Timcast earlier, and one of the suggestions was like, why don't you do a video where you buy something big with Bitcoin? And I was like, because I'd rather have the Bitcoin. Mm-hmm. Why would I give it up for anything? Tesla says you can buy a Tesla with a Bitcoin. I'm like, I'd rather have the Bitcoin. It's like, why would I spend $1 million on a $50,000 car?
Yeah, no,
Bitcoin's going to hit $1 million.
Yeah,
and I think it's going to be a lot faster than most people realize. So I guess the challenge is right now, should people should hypothetical people who are working just be buying as much Bitcoin as possible, but keeping some of the fiat for regular use, rent, food? Because you don't want to spend the Bitcoin. You want it for later,
right?
Right.
That's right.
At what point are you like, okay, now I can spend Bitcoin?
When it becomes a greater parity to gold. So gold's worth about $10 trillion, let's call it. Bitcoin's worth around $1 trillion or so. When you see Bitcoin trading at parity to gold at around 500,000 a coin or $10 trillion worth, then I think it'll be transitioned from the pure only store of value to store of value and medium of exchange. It's not really a medium of exchange as such, although on what's called the second layer with Lightning and other applications built on top, people are using it as for transactions every single day. And a lot of people who do transact in Bitcoin that might spend Bitcoin, let's say $1,000 worth of Bitcoin, they'll immediately buy 1,000 to replenish that. Right. A lot of people, the most intelligent thing you can do is dollar cost averaging, which is just every single day or every week or every month, you simply put in $10, $100 or $1,000 into Bitcoin on a regular basis. We work with, I think Swan Bitcoin is a company that specializes in this. and we work with them pretty closely.
I got an email from somebody who was was a wealthy individual who had a trust, like a wealthy family.
Yeah.
And they were talking to their financial manager or whatever, saying, we need to start putting our assets into Bitcoin. And they said, absolutely not. We won't do that.
Yeah.
And so the email I got was like very upset. Like, what are we supposed to do? You know?
Well, that's understandable. The entrenched, the establishment in these markets don't want the competition, and they don't want people taking money out, because once a lot of people understand that, the saying goes, not your keys, not your Bitcoin. You take the keys off these exchanges and these products, and so you're taking money out of the system. So if you're somebody whose business is accumulating assets under management, AUM, and that's a negative for you, because people are taking all their assets off and they're putting into cold storage. And so that's they don't want that competitive thing going on. And the amount of money made on selling products is enormous, and this is there's no fees attached. It's free to store, essentially. So they don't want the competition, but that is changing quite rapidly. As Paul Tudor Jones, very famous hedge fund manager, said, he believes inflation is here, and he owns a lot of gold, but he says Bitcoin is the fastest horse in the race.
How long until you think Bitcoin reaches 500,000?
Well, I've got a price target for 2021 of 220,000 per coin.
Why? Where was that number?
Based on the halvings that we've had every 4 years. We've had 3 halvings, and typically you see these types of price moves in the year.
You can track a pattern.
That's cyclically what we see.
What's the halving?
So 1 second. Has the price tracked as you've predicted it thus far? Because I know
Pretty much, yeah. The first quarter, it did very, very well. Now it's kind of going sideways, and I think we're going to see in the second quarter another breakout move to 70, 80, 85,000.
So I've known you guys for a decade, and I told you the story of Bitcoin back in 2011. I was at a hackerspace in LA. It was called Crash Space. I was hanging out with my friend Jeff, and we're sitting at my computer. I had savings. I had about $5,000 in savings. I had worked. I had saved it. I'm never going to touch it. It's my rainy day fund. It's like, I'm very proud. I was, was I 24 or something? And I said, I saw Bitcoin. So the Bitcoin faucet. For those that aren't familiar, there's a website that literally just gave you free Bitcoin. It was 0.05, I believe. Could be wrong. Just randomly, like, there you go. Here's some. Because it was almost worthless. So I look at my friend and I'm like, should I just buy a bunch of this Bitcoin thing? Because I'm just saving this money. It's sitting in the bank. I got to pay fees or whatever. Why don't I just buy this Bitcoin? And he goes, nah, dude. Like, it's probably a scam. You're going to buy it off some dude, and then it's going to become worthless. And I was like, yeah, I guess not. And so I was actually, no joke, sitting there about to buy like 7,300, Bitcoin at 70 cents. And then I remember when it went up to $5, and I was like, oh man, remember when Jeff, when you told me I had to buy it, then it hit $20, same story. Then it hit 500, same story. Yeah. And what's funny is, so I remember when you guys were promoting Bitcoin like crazy, and I was just watching it like, yeah, but now it's at, $5. If only I had bought was $1. Now it's at $60,000, and I'm like, why didn't I listen to Max?
Well, that story is the exact same story that Peter Schiff has experienced.
Yeah, but he's still not
buying,
him
at $1. I told him at $10. I told him at $100. I told him at $1,000. Told him at $10,000, and he still won't buy it. He's still anti-Bitcoin. He's still saying the same silly things over and over again. So
I have been.
Common story.
I was buying though. So what I'm like, man, I should have bought. I'll buy some. I'll buy a little bit, but I never went gung ho. I never went full in. I just bought a little bit here and there. Like, I'll just have some.
Yeah, well, it's never too late. It's going to continue to go up. On this financial advice question, it's like we're setting the table. We're saying, look, here's inflation. Here's your options. Here's what people are saying. And make your own choices. Do your own research. But it's a very compelling story. And given what the track record has been, and nothing we've said that would happen hasn't happened. Pretty much, we've been absolutely spot on in predicting the last 10 years pretty much every major turn in the global economy.
I'm definitely going to be buying more Bitcoin. But Bitcoin? What do you think about Ethereum, though?
It's centralized garbage.
You don't like Ethereum?
It's shit.
Oh. Nah, it's fine. Well, so I'm not going to pretend that Ethereum is the same thing as Bitcoin. I think
no, it's centralized. It's the transactions are reversible. They've reversed transactions before. 60% pre-mine it's an exit scam where Vitalik and those guys are just dumping coins whenever they feel like it.
Wow.
It's not robust at all. It's buggy. It's never been. No one knows how many exist. If you say, well, you can't run a node.
What is it?
Ethereum?
Exactly. What is it? Like, what's the point of it?
So there's applications run off of it using ERC20 tokens. So
why not use Microsoft? Why not use AWS? Yeah, all of the nobody can run a node. It costs too much. It's all hosted on AWS.
That's true. Yeah.
So you can shut it down. And
do you think AWS is going to listen, to Vitalik Buterin, or are they going to listen to the Treasury if the Treasury contacts them?
No, I agree. So I think I view Ethereum as very, very different from Bitcoin, as more of like an investment into a company.